Hello everyone, Drew Wilson of Your Era Gamer here. Today we are taking a trip back to the year of 2008. This is when the PC game Fallout 3 was released. It was a very popular entry into the Fallout franchise. Now, normally at this point in time, I'd start the clock at 10 minutes, but as you can tell from the splash screen, there won't be any gameplay footage for this one. Let me explain. A while back, I had bought a number of different games, thinking maybe this game will be interesting for you, maybe that game will be interesting for you, and I tried to come up with different older games at least to play around with and showcase what it was like to actually play these games. And unfortunately, I thought, well, Fallout 3 is a pretty popular title. I'll go ahead and buy this game. So I bought the game, and I thought this year would be an interesting way to start off this year by checking out this Fallout 3 title. What could go wrong? Well, as it turns out, a lot. See, the thing is, every time I hit play, the game crashes. There is no game I can access. Now, this isn't exactly a unknown issue. This is a well-known issue for quite some time, and so I decided to look into troubleshooting this because some people say this game works out of the box if you run Windows 10. So I thought maybe I could gamble with that, and it turns out I lost that gamble. So there was some different troubleshooting methods you can do. As it turns out, you could use a compatibility mode on the executable. So I tried Windows Vista Service Pack 2. I tried Windows XP Service Pack 2. I tried Windows XP Service Pack 3. All those compatibilities didn't work. And of course, there was the very standard method of getting these games to work, and that includes using administrative mode or administration mode. And that sometimes it's an issue of different games have a bit of a compatibility issue with the permissions in the system for Windows 10, and that usually resolves the issues. Unfortunately, that didn't work for me either. Now, there are apparently other methods I could employ to try and get this game to work, and that might include installing a massive suite of mods that apparently fixes a whole pile of different issues. But when I looked into it, it turns out I have to register, log in, and to this third-party website to install this mod from a third party. It's unofficial. And I got to thinking, I'm not exactly emotionally attached to this particular game. I wanted to try this for the first time. And if that's the barrier to entry, then I'm sorry. There's only so much I can do to try and fix the issues. But the situation does raise a number of interesting questions for me. One being, should Steam be allowed to actually sell this game in the first place? Because the thing is, as you know, as of this recording, Steam dropped compatibility for Windows operating systems that are older than Windows 10 a little while ago. And if you go to the store page for this, and yes, for clarity, this is not the game of the year, this is the standard edition version of the game. But if you go to the web page for this entry in the Steam store, you won't really see any notice saying this may not work anymore, this may not be functional. And I dug a little deeper trying to find any kind of disclaimer of any kind whatsoever saying that this may not function. And under the system requirements, if you click on load more, on the very bottom, if you scroll to the very bottom of the system requirements, there is now a disclaimer that says, starting January 1st, 2024, the Steam client will only support Windows 10 and later versions. Now, this may seem like an interesting and not a terrible generic boilerplate warning message, but this honestly doesn't tell the gamer that much. Because, yes, this game was originally meant for Windows XP and Windows Vista. That's how far back this goes. But the Steam client only supports Windows 10 and later. So you can kind of see the conflict here. You can't run the game executable through Steam without Windows 10, but you can't run it through Windows 10 because it's not compatible with the game itself. So which way do you go? It's really a conflict, and the disclaimer to me doesn't necessarily say a whole lot in the end. It just mentions the compatibility of the client in question and not necessarily the compatibility of the game. And the reason why I think this is much more vague than it really comes off as is the fact that some games out there were originally designed for older operating systems like Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, and other operating systems I'm not thinking of at the moment. And some developers actually, extend the life of the game and say, make some essential fixes so that it can still at least run. Maybe not necessarily fix every problem in the game, but at least it can run. And this is definitely not the case here. And you can research it ahead of time, and there are comments that go back and forth. Yes, it runs on Windows 10. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. You have to fix this. You have to fix that. This works. This doesn't work. And honestly, it's kind of like playing the roulette of whether or not this game will run or not. And as you can tell, yes, I didn't win that roulette round. So this, and honestly, when I think about how Steam actually went about telling everyone that Windows operating systems like Windows 8 and Windows 7 were no longer going to function, they gave users a whole year, which gives them plenty of time to upgrade their operating system. And the question is, why didn't Steam, at least for me, why didn't Steam also take that time and go back and see which game may not be compatible, which game may be compatible, and start auditing these games accordingly? And honestly, I think it's kind of bad that Steam is still selling this game as if, yeah, you can buy this game, download, install it, and play it like there's no problem whatsoever. And to be fair, Steam isn't the only culprit in all this. There's also Bethesda that developed this game. Why hasn't Bethesda at least issue a small patch to fix this? Because some developers do that. And if they didn't feel like they had the resources to actually, issue a patch to fix the compatibility issues with the operating system, then why is this still being sold to users? I honestly think that Bethesda should at the very least issue a patch to make it possible, at least a lot more possible than it is now, to play this game on Windows 10, rather than actually selling it as if, hey, this game works, go ahead and buy it, you can play it anytime you want. So that's just me. Maybe some of you have different opinions on this, but that's just honestly me. But yeah, I guess that is all for now, and until next time, what is your era?